In the headlines, Princess Margaret Hospital faces serious bed shortage. Prime Minister Skerrit encouraged about the future of bananas in terms of markets, but says quality is key. And a significant donation from Domlec helps position the Education Trust Fund to provide assistance for hundreds of needy students. I am Andrea Lee with the Channel 5 News. Details after this. Welcome back. We begin in the health sector. Overcrowding at the medical wards of the Princess Margaret Hospital has left health administrators without a choice but to put off patients' admission until space is available.
An aging population vulnerable to non-chronic disease is a common situation in any country. As more people become sick, they increasingly seek health care. Princess Margaret Hospital is not exempt. The institution has been around for 61 years, and the number of beds on the medical wards is insufficient to meet the high demand for care. The situation has continued for months now, and adult patients awaiting admission have to either hang around at the accident and emergency department or go home. Channel 5 News sought clarity from the chief medical officer who was addressing the issue on the record for the first time.
We have seen over the last few months an increase in admissions, particularly as it relates to the medical wards. We have two medical wards for patients who should be admitted on medical wards. That is the Emory and Glover ward, the medical wards. So there's an overflow there, and that is we're trying to see how best we can address that. What would happen sometimes if the ward is not, if there is no bed capacity, the bed capacities they're all taken on the medical wards, and patients have not been discharged as yet. All right, you might find there might be a bit of delay in terms of the patients who need to be admitted to those wards staying in the NE for longer time.
Health authorities are not giving any immediate thought to expanding the existing hospital building. The good news is that plans for a state-of-the-art hospital funded by the government of the People's Republic of China are ongoing. Dr. Johnson anticipates that the issue of space will be addressed with the advent of a new hospital.
Over the last few months, and in fact few years, we have been seeing increased admissions at the hospital. And when your population grows, and you have an aging population, that's the correct word. It's an aging population defined by PAHO. And when you reach into your 70s, 80s, it's likely that a lot more persons will be coming down with a number of diseases, chronic non-communicable diseases. We have not seen an increase in the bed capacity of the Princess Margaret Hospital. It's not an ideal situation for us. Whereas, for instance, you find that on the medical wards you have an increased number of patients. There are some wards in which they don't operate at full capacity. They don't operate at full capacity.
The expectation is that when a new hospital is constructed at Marigot, it will take up the slack of patients being admitted to the Roseau Hospital, according to Dr. Johnson. There's a 229 bed capacity at the hospital. Idona John Baptist, Channel 5 News.
In other health news now, the relocation of Marigot Health Services continues while renovations at the last of two buildings identified nears completion. The chief medical officer told the Channel 5 News a dwelling house in Marigot has already been renovated and being used to provide health services for the Marigot Health District. The accident and emergency section of Marigot Hospital is still operating from the Wesley Health Center. This since a serious mold infestation at the building housing the Marigot Health Center and the hospital's accident and emergency department caused the relocation of Marigot's health services.
So one of the dwelling houses that we have identified is being renovated and is almost completion. So the accident and emergency services still continue to operate temporarily at the Wesley Health Center. But one of the facility that has been completed is because of the more urgent need to have things like the immunization getting off the ground and the maternal and child health clinics, etc. One of the buildings is currently used for healthcare center services. And as soon as the other building is completed, we should be able to have the emergency services restored back in Marigot, within Marigot community proper.
Dr. Johnson says the suggestion for a new hospital for Marigot is not being ignored.
Affairs in collaboration with Public Works have moved ahead in terms of other locations where you could have a more long-term temporary building while preparing for the state-of-the-art hospital for Marigot. And again, we like to commend the persons, the Marigot community, for the sort of patience they have exercised. The health team have done considerable, great work in working with the but we have identified facilities, and we're looking in terms of doing some retrofitting at some of those facilities where patients will be able to be, as used to be done in the past, being admitted in those healthcare, in the hospital of Marigot.
Let's move on now to agriculture, where the banana industry is in recovery from the ravages of black sigatoka. Julian Morris has more.
Prime Minister Skerrit believes efforts undertaken by government to introduce tissue culture bananas as part of rehabilitation efforts has in fact worked, but there is still work to be done.
The tissue culture has worked, and also the efforts which the government has been making, and in large measure the farmers too, in fighting black sigatoka. We have not won the battle yet, because in many instances we're not getting the support of farmers and community persons whose fields are still affected with black sigatoka. So we're not getting the full, absolute cooperation from the farming community in fighting black sigatoka. But we have engaged dozens of farmers with the tissue culture. Many of the farmers have done well. The big bunches, very, very nice fruit. I have tasted it. And it boils well in sort of green bananas. But these are free plants we give the farmers. Free inputs, free technical services, technical support. So when people say we're not giving any support to the farmers, no farmer paid for the tissue culture. Right? And some got 700 plantlets, some got 1,400 plantlets, some got 2,100 plantlets. And they paid for not for one.
Meantime, significant volumes of bananas are being sold on the regional market, but the Prime Minister says particular attention needs to be paid to quality.
We have been engaging ourselves in a major market thrust in the Caribbean, and we've started with the U.S. Virgin Islands. As a matter of fact, we sent a trial shipment to the U.S. Virgin Islands, which is a major plus, because we're competing there with Dole and Del Monte and Chiquita. And the bananas which we sent through Dexia to the USVI, to a particular supplier, purchaser there, passed the test. So we're now working to sign an MOU between Dexia and that private sector person in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And they have even offered to serve as the distributor in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So their supermarket chain will buy, and they're prepared to serve as a distributor in the Virgin Islands. They're hoping to come to Dominica hopefully this month to sign the MOU.
There have also been discussions with Antigua to increase its intake of Dominica's bananas. St. Kitts is also a potential market, even if they have expressed some concerns. Additionally, a special unit is being introduced into the Ministry of Agriculture to provide technical support to farmers. While efforts are being made to establish a presence for Dominica's bananas on the UK market, the Prime Minister says particular care has to be taken to ensure that Dominica can simultaneously supply both the region and the UK without any shortfall. Dominica's marketing agent in the UK, the Chief Executive Officer of Winfresh, Bernard Conibert, met with government recently. Part of the discussion centered around a proposal by Winfresh to invest in a banana farm here to complement what local farmers are doing and to increase production.
In more news now, efforts by the Dominica Business Forum to partner and consult government to get a sense of what the 2016-2017 national budget will offer have not yielded success. That's according to Executive Director of the Dominica Employers Federation, Ashil Joseph, whose organization is a member of the Dominica Business Forum.
Early on this year, we met at the level of the Dominica Business Forum, that is the umbrella consortium of private sector organizations in Dominica. And we agreed that we would approach the state and say to the state, hey, rather than we do the normal of sending you what many people like to call a shopping list, we asked the state, tell us what is it you're going to focus on in the 2016-2017 budget so that the private sector would partner with the state in whatever area it was going to focus on. And we were ignored. So we don't know, essentially, what the budget is going to focus on. And as a result, we did not meet at the level of the Dominica Employers Federation to inform the budget.
Joseph says they considered it a good opportunity for partnership between the private sector and government.
We all felt that the destruction that was brought upon the economy by Tropical Storm Erica and other things, we think it was necessary that we partner in taking Dominica forward. That rather than the DEF says it wants this and the DCSI suggests this and the manufacturers and the architects suggest this. Tell us what is it you're going to focus on. So if the state say, okay, we're going to focus on export-led growth, then we would all collapse our contribution into export-led growth. So we would leave out the other things that we would typically ask for. Having said that, I must say that continually the Dominica Employers Federation does communicate with the state on areas of development, areas of change that we would like to see. And we did communicate with the state on a number of occasions this year on possible areas of changes. If the state chose to include those in the national budget, then we're not aware of that.
Joseph says he understands there is a cutoff point to get submissions to government, and the Employers Federation's formal proposals were delivered earlier this year.
The two critical areas we communicated with the state on is the creation of an economic and social advisory group that we asked the Prime Minister to consider work as an advisory body to advise the state going forward. They indicated they have received our correspondence and they would have gotten back to us, but we have not seen that. Secondly, you know, the Employers Federation has for some time now been talking about opening up the fringes of the economy to include commercial activities on Sunday. We have put our proposal in the form of a bill and we have submitted it to the government. Hopefully that they would study and take some decision, whether it is in whole or in part, as to where we go forward on that proposal.
Coming up, the competition continues for Tasia Flosack. We'll tell you where she's headed to next. Thank you for staying with us. Another group of deserving students has benefited from the generosity of a local power company. The Dominica Electricity Services, DOMLEC, on Wednesday awarded 4 full scholarships to students who wrote this year's Grade 6 National Assessment. 2 5-year scholarships went to children of employees, while 2 others were presented to members of the public.
The students at the end of every term must present the term reports to the Human Resources and Administration Department, and based on the performance, the child receives counseling where necessary. In addition, if a child is experiencing difficulty in a subject area, we facilitate that extra help for the child. These students, when they are in the higher forms, are also given the opportunity to work at DOMLEC on attachment during the summer holidays.
The DOMLEC Scholarship Program started in 1986 and has been a steady feature for 30 years. Each year, DOMLEC spends $35,000 to $40,000 on the 21 students who hold the company scholarships.
DOMLEC continues to support education. DOMLEC firmly believes in the value of education, not only internally in our organization, but externally, because an educated nation and an educated country through the youth will also help the country and also help Domlek, because the kind of work and the kind of things that we do here requires educated persons. I would like to see one day some of you that grow up to become engineers and administrators, etc., and be able to make a successful career in Domlek.
The four who received scholarships are Giovanni Benjamin from the Ebenezer SDA Primary, who will attend the St. Mary's Academy; Emilio Bluff, St. Mary's Primary, who will go on to SMA; Shamali Carbon from Woodford Hill Primary, who will attend the Northeast Comprehensive School; and Joannan Lewis, formerly of SMP, who has his eyes set on St. Mary's Academy.
For me, it was truly an answer to prayer, and I thank God for using Domlek to bless me. I pray that God will continue to prosper Domlek and all its staff, and we will try to make both you and our families proud by doing our best at school. Thanks again.
Meantime, the Education Trust Fund has received a sizable financial contribution from Domlek.
Domlek firmly believes in the value of education, very firm, both internally with respect to the continuous development and of our staff, but also externally with respect to the requirements to ensure that continued national growth and development occurs. We are always happy to collaborate with the Education Trust Fund in their efforts, as we see the fund as a vehicle through which so many young people can get the opportunity to attend and to remain in secondary schools throughout the tenure.
An Education Trust Fund representative says this contribution is extremely useful, as there are several hundred children who need assistance, but current funding cannot reach them all.
The school transfer grant, it is not for all children, it is for the most needy, because we only receive assistance from central government for 800 children, and as we all know, 1,500 plus sit the exams, so we cannot assist everybody. And even with the help that we are getting, thank you again to Domlek for giving us that very large sum, and we're really looking forward in the future that they will continue assisting us so that we can assist the needy children out there, because we know that there are lots of them who have fallen by the waysides because they could not have gotten that assistance.
The Trust Fund, which was established in 1981, has been helping secondary school students with transportation, books, and CXC fees, among other school expenses.
So Domlek takes this opportunity to invite others who have not yet participated in this effort to join us on this worthy cause to provide the support. We at Domlek believe that education is not a privilege, but a right for every Dominican, and more so, every Dominican child. So Domlek is fully supportive of that statement and will continue to demonstrate this support in tangible ways.
And adjusting to a new format of pageantry is not expected to affect Miss Dominica's performance as she heads out to her remaining regional competitions. The Miss Caribbean Culture will be the third and final regional pageant for Dominica's Carnival Queen 2016, Tasia Flosac. The Miss JC's pageant, scheduled for 24th July in Antigua, is Flosac's second regional pageant. Her first was the Miss Carnival in St. Vincent earlier this month, where she obtained first runner-up position.
Coming from the Miss Carnival, I now have a better understanding of regional stage. You know, it's until you reach there that you really understand, and the pressure really starts to sink in. But I must say, I'm very confident, I'm very proud of myself and the work that I put in. And I would just like to thank everyone who supported from near and far.
The Miss Caribbean Culture, scheduled for 1st August in Nevis, is split in two, with a pre-show 2 days before the event.
The pre-show is really a sort of swimwear competition. So on the night of the actual show, you make what they call an appearance in swimwear, but it's not judged. So we're going to come out in 4 rounds or make 4 appearances. The first is in a wrap. The second, and they ask you for various things. So you'd have to come out in a 2-piece of a specific color or a 1-piece of a specific color and so forth. So we have 4 appearances to make, and you are judged on your poise, the fit, tone, the usual swimwear segments. It's 50 points per appearance. So it really carries a lot of weight, a lot of points, and so those points will go to your overall performance the following day.
Though the format of the Miss Caribbean Culture is different from the other pageants, Flosak says her preparation will help her put on a solid performance on the night of the show.
The judge segments are the introduction, because they are going to be this time, well, for this specific pageant, I think they're the only pageant judging the ambassadorial wear, and you have a sort of speech to do. Then there is an interview segment, so you go straight into interview. It's very different from the other pageants. So you have an interview segment, then you do talent, no swimwear, and after talent is followed by evening wear, and then they do a top 5 selection, and then you get a second interview round from that top 5 to see who is the top. So the structure of the Caribbean Culture is very different from the other pageants or what we're used to.
Miss Dominica left state on Wednesday. That's news. Coming up, your sports highlights with Kenny Williams.
Bouncing off with basketball, LA Knights captured a win in the Division I category as action continued in the 2016 Flow DABA League on Tuesday. Knights topped their game with an 8-point lead against Kyrie FM Old School with final game scores 60-52. Fashion Line Falcons won the Premier Division game by default when the Eagles forfeited. Meantime, the league continues in Portsmouth on Friday between Intellico Security Raiders and Kyrie FM Old School at 7, followed by Eagles versus Fast Cash Prowlers at 9 p.m. Moving on to cricket, Vice-Captain of the West Indies Test squad Craig Brathwaite says the game plan ahead of the Windies match against India is patience. Brathwaite says the aim is to score about 300 runs in the first innings.
As a batting unit, we look at their bowlers and, they have some good bowlers. And I think the main thing, these pitches in the Caribbean is, patience. And I think, once we carry that ball facing their paces and spinners, we'll make some big targets. Obviously, it's important. That first innings total, we need 300 and above. And I think once we do that, we put ourselves in a good position, to go forward in the game positively. So, looking at their batting as well, obviously from the bowling perspective, it's not going to be easy. But I think, obviously we're accustomed to these conditions, so we know once we get our lines right, the lines and we both our specific fields, I think we'll be good.
He says the team is prepared to give it their all.
Test cricket, is never easy, whichever team you play. And, obviously India have some quality bowlers, both pace and spin. And, I think the guys are up for the challenge and it's just about going out there and believing in yourself, putting God first, and, we'll do well.
India is number 2 in the world in tests, with Australia holding first position. West Indies is in 8th place. The first test between West Indies and India starts at the Vivian Richards Cricket Ground in Antigua on Thursday. Next up, 62 students will represent Dominica at the 2016 Windward Island Schools Games in Grenada from July 23 to 30. The event will see student athletes from the Windward Islands compete in athletics, boys and girls basketball, football, boys and girls volleyball, and netball. Dominica placed second to Grenada, who took the overall first place in 2015. However, Dominica won the boys basketball and volleyball. The national squad is in the final preparation stage with a 3-day camp which started Tuesday, July 19 at Margot. The team leaves for Grenada later this week. The game will officially open on Saturday with an opening ceremony at 2:30 p.m. followed by track and field at the Grenada Athletics Stadium. Dominica's team is expected back home early August. On to boxing now, where head of Top Glove Boxing Club, Job Joseph, says sponsorship has been the key to the speed with which preparations for the Boxing Extravaganza Part 1 have progressed. A variety of sponsors have come on board this year to facilitate the hosting of the charity event.
What I thought would come out of it is much more. For instance, Friday last week, I signed a contract with Jolly's Pharmacy, they're going to be the main sponsors. Dr. Dublin has come on board. We have James Guest House. The Red Cross has come on board in a great way, although I have to do some little more arrangement with them, but they have come on board a great way because we'll need the Red Cross and the ambulance there that night. Also, we have Simon. He haven't given me a song, the word, but Simon always been sponsoring. We also have Wow. I'll be getting some chairs from them because we need chairs for the ringside.
The 2016 Boxing Extravaganza Part 1 is scheduled for the Massacre Court on July 30. Proceeds from that competition will go towards relief efforts for earthquake victims in Ecuador. Meantime, boxing coach Crawford Williams believes Dominican athletes have a lot of talent, and if developed, we could see some excellent product. Williams made those comments ahead of the Boxing Extravaganza Part 1.
I think Dominica's got a lot of talent, and it's just that the organization is a little poor, what I've seen, but I just hope we can get things together, get the boys together, train them, and maybe we can have a few champions in Dominica, which I believe we have.
Williams says the club is well placed to help develop the sport here.
We've got about 20 young men and women, a couple of seniors, but I believe if we can get a few more, more younger people interested, we can have a very good club.
And boxing athlete Charles Leatham says training has been intense.
I find training is very intense right about this moment. I can't feel myself. I feel I'm floating, and I don't know what is going to predict from there on, but I know what is going to be a W.
That's all the sports for now. I am Kenny Williams. Be sure to join us next time.
Flashback will resume next week. Meantime, scattered showers and thunderstorms expected to continue into Thursday. Your weather forecast is next.
Good evening, viewers. Welcome to tonight's weather broadcast. I am Janelle Macpherson, and I'll be your presenter this evening. Infrared satellite imagery today showed an area of deep convection and multi-layered clouds moving across the region. Visible satellite imagery showed cloudy skies across Dominica today. Radar imagery indicated shower and thunderstorm activity across the island chain. The weather for tonight, cloudy to overcast with showers and possible isolated thunderstorms. Persons in areas prone to flooding, landslides, and falling rocks are advised to exercise caution. Tomorrow, cloudy skies and scattered showers are expected during the morning period. A gradual improvement to fair to partly cloudy skies with a few brief scattered showers are expected by afternoon. Seas tomorrow moderate in open water, waves peaking up to 7 feet. Looking ahead for the next 3 days, a gradual improvement in weather conditions on Thursday and Friday. By Saturday, increased cloudiness and showers are expected. Throughout the Caribbean tomorrow, a gradual improvement in weather conditions across the northern and central portion of the region, while lingering moisture and thunderstorm activity is expected across the southern region. On the international cities forecast, generally fair weather conditions in New York, Miami, London, and Beijing, possible thunderstorm activity in Caracas. Sunrise tomorrow at 5:44 a.m. and sunset at 6:39 p.m. Please keep up to date with weather information by visiting our website at weather.gov.dm or calling our weather hotline at 447-5555. Thank you for viewing and have a good night.
To end the news, the headlines again. Princess Margaret Hospital faces a serious bed shortage. Prime Minister Skerrit encouraged about the future of bananas in terms of markets, but says quality is key. And a significant donation from Domlec helps position the Education Trust Fund to provide assistance for hundreds of needy students. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Andrea Lee, and to all our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us next time.